Welcome everyone, I'm Chris with Tampa Hillsborough County Public Library, and we are excited to have our virtual Master Gardener program tonight. Before we officially get started, I just want to go over a few housekeeping items. This is an interactive program. That means you can ask questions. If you're watching on a computer, there's a question section where you can submit your questions. If you're watching on a tablet or a phone, you just tap on the question mark icon and submit that way. You're also going to receive an email survey. Please give us your feedback. We'd like to know how your experience was. And lastly, this is going to be recorded and posted to the library's YouTube channel. All right, with that out of the way, welcome everyone to Master Gardener, how to find gardening information on the web. We are happy and thrilled to have Nicole Pinson with us. She is a horticulture agent, the Master Gardener volunteer coordinator with IFAS Extension, Hillsborough County. I almost left out a letter there. Welcome, Nicole. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me tonight.
We're so excited to have you. Before Nicole gets started, we have a book shout out from our ebook collection and Overdrive, and it's the Florida Gardener's Handbook. Now, this is an ebook, like I just mentioned. You can check it out from Overdrive, and you can find out more about all of our collections at hcplc.org/books. All right, I am now going to give Nicole presenter control so she can bring up her slides. And Nicole, if you need anything, I'll be right here in the background. I'm just going to turn my microphone and camera off. And all right, have a great program. Oh, I think you're muted. I think you're still muted, Nicole.
Got it.
There you go.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chris, and thank you to everyone who's attending tonight. Again, my name is Nicole Pinson, and I am the Horticulture Extension Agent for the Hillsborough County Extension Office, and I appreciate this partnership with the library. Today, we're going to talk about how to find gardening information on the web, and I'm going to turn my camera off as we advance the slides, and we do have some opportunities for question and answer, so please go ahead and write your questions or ask and have your comments, and we can address those throughout the presentation. So how to find gardening information on the web. One of the main objectives I would like everyone to take away from this presentation is to learn about one new online resource. And this presentation has come about from questions that we get at the Extension Help Desk, and also through library programs that we previously did with the libraries before COVID, but now we're doing a lot of virtual programs. And so these are the common areas that we get questions on. And if anyone wants to indicate in the chat or let us know what your primary area of interest is, whether it's vegetables, you want to learn about plant disease, palms, turfgrass, or nutrition, I'll address some of the great online resources as we go through this talk. So again, my objective is to teach everyone on this webinar at least one new online resource today. And these are some of the really great websites that I use on a frequent basis. And you will need to take notes. Everyone gets a copy of this presentation and the links, and there should be a handout tab, and I think Chris might address that at the end, but you can download a copy of this PDF and the links are included in that. So if you're outside of Hillsborough County, I would encourage you to contact your local county extension office if you'd like more information about horticulture and other programs. And if you're in Hillsborough County, feel free to reach out to me and to our local extension office. We're in Seffner, but we do virtual programs all over the county. So the reason why I thought this would be a good presentation to put together is because as an extension agent and some of our Master Gardener volunteers, we see a lot of questions and answers, and some of the information could be correct. We also see some myths that are out there, and we really want to be unbiased and give you research-based information. We're not a commercial entity, but these resources are sites that you could bookmark and use often and consult them if you see some problems or issues in your garden. So it's really a way to let you all become aware of all of the free, wonderful resources that are available to you through the University of Florida and our Hillsborough County Government and Extension Office, and let you know how to access some of these. So let's start with a primary page. This is called EDIS, and this is the free online library through the University of Florida IFAS. And EDIS stands for Electronic Data Information Source, And that you don't really need to know. What you really need to know is that you can type anything in the search box that's related to Florida, gardening, recipes. There's even publications on time management, parenting, working with kids, financial literacy, all sorts of publications. But if you are interested in gardening and horticulture, this is an excellent site to bookmark. Again, as I said, it's free. The front page of this website will show new information and new publications. So it's constantly being updated with what's going on in the state. So if you want to be a savvy gardener and figure out what is on trend and what is happening, you can take a look at this homepage and see the new publications that are available. These are all available online. You can download PDFs, you can search the PDFs, you can save them if you want to, but use the search box at the top right and type in anything from lady beetles to tomatoes to peppers, and you'll get free resources for each of those topics. So here are some examples that I frequently talk to gardeners about, and these are some of my favorite publications. One of them is called Natural Products for Managing Landscape and Garden Pests in Florida. So if you are an organic gardener or you are concerned about the products that you use in your landscape, this is a publication for you. And we also have a publication about managing plant pests with soaps and household and structural pest management. This is just a few of the different topics, but once you start doing a deep dive on EDIS, you will find all kinds of interesting publications. So the picture on the right is our bird's nest fungus. And the reason I included this is because there's a publication on that. And the publication is the bird nest fungus, the charismatic fungi. So if you're interested in reading that publication, that one is available for free as well. So many home gardeners are very interested in vegetables, especially now. People are home more, they're gardening, they want to know how to grow vegetables. But if you're new to Florida or you're not an experienced vegetable gardener, sometimes vegetable gardening may be frustrating. So again, use EDIS as your point of reference. You could search for recipes, starting a garden, raised beds, heirloom tomatoes. There's a great publication on where to find seed sources and catalogs. Really anything, just kind of experiment and see what you can find on EDIS. The second most valuable resource is called the Florida Vegetable Gardening Guide. So you could go to any online web browser, type in Florida Vegetable Gardening Guide plus UF, and you'll get a free publication about what to plant in our area of the state. Also, if you want to get specific to organic vegetable gardening, you can. You just type in keywords and add UF after it. And an example of that would be typing in a web browser, avocado plus UF, and then you'll get all the UF publications. So you might be wondering, why am I promoting the UF publications and fact sheets? Well, it's not just because I work for the University of Florida IFAS in Hillsborough County. Their main reason is that these publications are the result of work and research and people studying and learning how best to grow plants in Florida, and vegetables are one of those types of gardening ideas. So the great thing is that you really don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can take the research and see what's online and use this as a great starting point. And I always say it's great to experiment in the garden and have the knowledge of local experts and talk to your friends, but it's also good to just have the solid research and be able to have the go-tos of what might work for our area in Florida. So here is one that I really like, because if you are a vegetable gardener, I'm sure that you have heard the statement that marigolds deter nematodes. And nematodes are microscopic roundworms that live in our soil. And they feed on plant roots and they can cause a lot of havoc. But the interesting thing is not all marigolds are ones that will work for nematode management. And there's only specific varieties of marigolds that actually will help. Some of them could probably bring more nematodes to the garden, and they also need to be planted in a certain style or way. So if you want to read more about marigolds and maybe address the myth that marigolds deter nematodes, this is an example of the really cool nuggets of information for gardeners that people are studying and doing research on that can be very helpful to us. So going back to the Florida Vegetable Gardening Guide, If you look at the tables, this is really wonderful information to take the guesswork out of what to plant when in Central Florida. And that's where we're at for the most part if you're here in my area, which is Tampa Bay. So if you're a gardener and you're not sure when to plant, bush beans or lima beans, you can look at this chart and tell that February through April, and then again, another time in August and September, would be the best time to plant these vegetables in our area. So that's number one. You take the timing and the guesswork out of that, and planting at the right time can make you a successful vegetable gardener. The other thing I really like about this publication is it suggests varieties. And these varieties, such as if you're growing the bush beans, such as Roma 2, Cherokee Wax, these are ones that will do really well in our area. So I usually will take this with me. I can pull it up on my phone or have a publication in hand as I go shopping for vegetables or buy seeds or transplants. And by looking at this, I can know which ones will do well, and then maybe I'll experiment with some other varieties, but these are really great to start with. Another key point about this publication is many of us are concerned about using specific chemicals or pollinator protection in our garden. So I wish this footnote E was really huge, but in this publication, table 3, you'll see a footnote E, and these are what are called least toxic products. And by choosing least toxic products to help with control of pests, you could be making a difference on our pollinators and non-target organisms. And for those of us who are concerned about organic gardening, these would be some options to try. The other thing that UF has done a great job in the past few years of creating are really, really easy to understand at a glance infographics. So the infographics are not just about gardening. There's all kinds of infographics, from calibrating your irrigation system to mosquitoes, all sorts of really interesting, eye-catching, user-friendly publications. So you can learn more about the infographics at this site. And remember, everyone will get a copy of this presentation. And you can also take a look at our newsletter, which is called The Neighborhood Gardener. So here's an example of the types of infographics that we have available. These are all online. You can download them and share them. So they really are helpful with figuring out what to plant when, and they work very well with general gardening information. So moving on to plant diseases, we get lots of questions at the Extension office about how to control plant diseases and what to do to prevent them. So here's an example on the bottom left of a common weed called balsam apple. But some folks may not know that this particular weed can serve as a host for viruses that can attack your vegetables. So there is an excellent publication on common weeds that we find in our gardens and what those weeds have the potential to bring in pests or viruses or other potential problems. So let's go through a couple of great resources for vegetable diseases. Here's a topic page where you could type this in and get lots of great information on different vegetable diseases that may occur in your garden and how to identify them and treat them. And as I mentioned a moment ago, here's that really cool publication about weed hosts. So if you know your weeds and you can identify them, then you might be able to figure out which ones to definitely remove if you have a vegetable garden nearby. Another wonderful resource, and this is all free, open access, is the University of Florida North Florida Research and Education Center Uscout website. What I like about this is, besides the fact that it's free, guess what? It has pictures, and with pictures, you can often take a look at what you're seeing in your garden and compare it to this site and get some great ideas of what could be potential causes of problems. Or if you just want to learn more, you can learn more. So they've divided this up into different crops and ornamentals. You can see tomatoes are listed in addition to cucurbits and roses and crepe myrtles. If you click on any of those plants, you can get a drop down of potential diseases and problems, and each one of the drop downs has pictures of the actual problems that have occurred and been submitted throughout Florida. So if we were in a longer class, we'd practice together, but this is your homework if you're so inclined. You could go to the Uscout page. Here's an example of what you'll see on the cucurbits tab. And these are some of the different diseases and problems that you can find on your different cucurbits, such as watermelons and cucumbers. So each of these diseases, click on those, you'll get more pictures and a description. Again, this is a free diagnostic tool. These are real pictures that people have sent in from across the state, and it's a shared resource to help us all learn and become better gardeners. Moving into palms, I don't know if any of you on the webinar today have any issues with palms, or you're trying to figure out what could be the cause of a problem, or perhaps your palm doesn't look as healthy as you might like it to. So this is the University of Florida Online Palm Problems Key, and this is coming out of the Fort Lauderdale Research and Education Center. This key is a key used in this way is basically like a chart to help you get to the problem. And it gives you some ideas and symptoms and things that you might see, and then you can click on those and narrow it down and get to the potential cause of the problem. So the way that this free online key is developed is you can click on the problems if they appear in the leaves, or if it's the flowers and fruit, or if it's the trunk. And from there, you'll be able to go through the key and get some suggestions on what might be the problem. So here is an example of what this free diagnostic tool looks like. We recently had a question come into the extension office about bleeding from the trunk or a wound. And if you could look at this, you'd pick that it's on the trunk. You could find evidence of what appears to be bleeding or some kind of a liquid coming from the trunk. And what this could be caused by, it could be trunk rot, it could be caused by animals such as woodpeckers, it could be caused by physical injury such as a nail hole, or even lightning. So here, if you start to see these, it can help you narrow it down. And if you're looking for the trunk rot, it tells you, look to see if you see pink spores. If you don't see those spores, it could be something else. So this is free, easy. A lot of times it's great for troubleshooting. Some other examples of free publications include nutrient deficiencies and how to fertilize palms. These are all available as well. The nutrient deficiencies is a great publication because it has pictures of problems. So again, pictures are very helpful if you're looking at something in your garden and you're trying to determine what the cause is. These are the really great diagnostic hubs that you can look at the photos in the publication and compare and contrast it to what you're seeing in your landscape. And if you need help, you can contact us. You can do your research at your local library and pull some books and reference materials and see if you can figure things out, but you have a lot of resources available to you. Another group of excellent palm publications, the first one is normal abnormalities in palms. This is kind of like an oxymoron. Sometimes we have folks that send us pictures of roots coming out of the bottom of the palm trunk on top of the soil, and they're concerned about that, but that is completely normal. Those are just roots coming from the root initiation zone. And this one, physiological disorders of palms, that's basically stuff that is just a natural disorder. It looks like a natural disorder, could be a potential problem, but it's totally harmless, nothing to worry about. So an example of that is the leaf on the right. You can see at the center of the leaf, there's some yellowing, and that might be indicative to some people of a nutrient deficiency, but on this particular palm, which is a cabbage palm, that yellowing in the center of the frond is completely normal. And you can also go to this palm symptoms tool. There's two key things on here. Sometimes this tool is a little more cumbersome, but the two things that I think would be very helpful if you do have palms or you want to learn more about them would be the gallery and the fact sheets. Both of those, you can look at pictures and narrow down to potential issues and compare it with what you see in your landscape. So pests and insects, we spend a lot of time at the Extension office helping folks identify pests and insects and determine possible solutions to pest problems. So even today I talked to someone about whiteflies and mealybugs and coming up with some resources for them and a strategy to mitigate that. So a great site for insects is called Featured Creatures, and this is from the Entomology and Nematology department. Again, this is completely free. It's all online. You can search by common name, you can search by scientific name. Just like the homepage on EDIS, I really like the recent additions tab because as a gardener, I can sort of see what is happening, what is a new pest that's being listed here. And they're not all pests, there's actually a lot of beneficial insects on the site as well. You can even search by crop or habitat. So if you have a specific crop, you might be able to narrow down which pests are on that crop. So this is a wonderful resource. It's always being updated. Some of them, the photos are being updated as they're able to collect more of the different stages of an insect's life cycle. And they do a fantastic job of listing potential damage and mitigation efforts and management strategies. And some insects on this page, there won't be a recommendation because the damage isn't significant or anything that would truly harm the plants. So some other examples in management in the home garden, that's an EDIS pub as well. And don't forget other land-grant universities that have similar habitats and growing conditions as us, North Carolina, Texas, Georgia, Hawaii. These are all states that I typically will go to for information if I can't find it locally. Another great image website for insects is called Bugwood, and that one is just a working website, and they always are updating pictures, so it's another great resource. If you'd like to learn more about beneficial insects and IPM, I have included the links here as well. Beneficial insects have become very important to us because we know that they can help with pest control, and they can also help with pollinating our crops and vegetables. So this is a great site to learn a little bit more and learn how to identify some of these helpful garden insects. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention turfgrass because I think that that's where I spend a lot of time. Today I talked to someone about large patch. I've talked to folks about disease management and selecting fertilizers for turfgrass so as not to stress the grass out. So here are some great sites and resources. This is a picture on the top right of us in the Master Gardener class recently doing what's called a soap flush. And a soap flush technique is easy and inexpensive. You use a dishwashing soap that's not a degreaser, something like a lemon-scented, really inexpensive dish soap. Mix it with water, a couple of tablespoons to a gallon of water. Pour it over an area where you see some dead grass and maybe some healthy grass. And within 2 minutes, you'll start to see any pests or even beneficial insects start to float to the surface. The reason why this is extremely helpful is because you can narrow down if it's a disease or perhaps an insect problem. Here are additional resources for turfgrass, and again, I'll send you this PowerPoint presentation so you can look this up more. And the last couple of key tips I want to mention are nutrient deficiencies. Here is a wonderful website on how to identify nutrient deficiencies in ornamental plants. Again, it's got great pictures, so that would be very helpful. Here is another key or decision tree. So if you'd like to take a look at this and then practice in your landscape, you can identify potential issues and nutrient deficiencies. I've also included charts to help you determine what could be a potential nutrient deficiency based on where it occurs in the plant. Is it in the old leaves or the new leaves? Is it on the entire plant or just the lower leaves? These are all clues, and you can get to the bottom of a potential nutrient deficiency by using this very easy color chart. Lastly, our resources are for citrus. There's not too many folks growing citrus as much as they used to, but we're hoping that that will improve, and there are some new citrus varieties that might be able to make it to the homeowner market within the next few years. But if you want to learn more about citrus grading disease and identifying deficiencies, here are some reference links for that. by all means, reach out to me at the Extension office if you have questions or you need some more help with citrus disease identification. And again, you will get all of this information with insects, diseases, and integrated pest management. Lastly, I do get folks who want to learn about plant identification. So if you are someone that appeals to, we have free online plant ID modules. We have a great publication called How to ID a Tree. This one is wonderful because it tells you things to look for to help you determine the species. And we have an assessment of non-native plants. This is mostly to determine if things are invasive or not, but it has great pictures. You can search the assessments tab at the top and see pictures of all kinds of plants across Florida. And lastly, there are reference materials available through the bookstore. So there's a link there if you want to look at the Florida-specific gardening information and guides that you can use out in the field in your yard. So you all have done a great job on this webinar. I kind of went through this quickly. I know Chris wanted me to finish up in 20 to 30 minutes, but now you can find some free research-based information on a variety of common topics with our Florida landscapes. I hope that you all use at least one of these free resources because they are very, very helpful for home gardeners. And let us know if you have questions, and feel free to reach out to me at the Extension office if you need some assistance with your gardening and landscaping.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and come back on screen here. And like Nicole mentioned, it is time to post your questions, and we'll have a Q&A segment here. We'll leave that slide up in case anybody wants to jot anything down. Also, like Nicole mentioned, in the handout section, you should see it in your control panel or on your tablet or phone, these slides that she's been going through. There's a PDF of it that you can download during the session if you'd like. There's a lot of great information in there. Thank you so much, Nicole. That was really amazing how much information is available online through you all and these other resources that you shared. All right, so let's see. We do have some questions here. You mentioned vegetable gardening. Someone is also asking about plant nutrition. Is there any plant nutrition information on the website there?
Yes, absolutely. So I did have some links to how to identify nutrient deficiencies in palms and landscape plants, ornamentals. Those charts that I sent with the color that you can narrow down, those are extremely helpful to just kind of hold them and take a look at what you're seeing, and that should help as well. And then if it's for vegetables specifically, the Florida Vegetable Gardening Guide has general recommendations on fertilizer.
Great.
So excellent question.
Yeah. Someone is asking, is there an app for the Florida Vegetable Gardening Guide? Is there an app available for that?
There is an app. I'm so happy you mentioned that because that is like the one link I forgot to include in this presentation. So that's awesome. I'm looking on my phone now. I believe it's called Florida Fresh. And what you can do is you should be able to just type in your zip code and it will tell you what vegetables you can plant right now in your area. So it's real life, real time guidance on which vegetables to pick.
I'm going to type that into the chat section here. So if anybody wants to jot it down, Florida Fresh is the name of the app. Is that correct? Okay.
Florida Fresh.
Awesome.
Yep. And I'm looking at it right now, and you can just put in your zip code and it will tell you, for example, where I live, not too far from downtown, I can plant beets, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, celery, to name a few. Wow. And if you click on the pictures, you'll get more information.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, let's see. Someone is asking about the soil testing. Is there any information on your site? Okay. Yeah, they were wondering if there was like maybe like licensed agencies or anything like that that they can contact to do that.
Yes, these are all great questions. And if you are planting vegetables, I would highly recommend getting your soil tested. Here at the Extension office locally, we test for pH only, which will give you some basic information about what your pH is and what you might expect as far as nutrients that are available. We can help you with that. But if you want a soil fertility test, you can send a sample up to the UF lab in Gainesville. And I know that sounds really far away, but it's not. You just put it in a bag, complete the form, mail it to the lab, and they give you your results in a week. They copy me so I can help you with the report. But if you are planting vegetables, I would highly recommend vegetables or fruit. I'd recommend a soil test.
Good to know. All right, let's see, someone
And
is...
the cost of that is $10. I forgot to mention that.
Okay. All right. Someone's asking, they're thinking about starting an indoor gardening. Is there information on the site about how to get started with that?
An indoor garden, are you thinking about doing vegetables or herbs or houseplant type plants? And if you don't know, that's okay. You could grow a number of different plants, house plants. I would start with that if you're not really focused on growing edibles inside, because they are easy to grow outside in containers. But for some excellent plants inside, especially for beginners, one of them is called a ZZ plant, and that's really like abbreviated because the Latin name is so long. So just think ZZ. You can find those all over the place now, but if you're looking for like a top easy to grow plant inside the house that always looks good, pick a ZZ.
Okay.
I should say ZZ plants are easy plants.
Easy. But that's easy to remember. All right, we have time for one more question. Let's see. Someone wants to know, are there recorded webinars available on the website?
Oh yeah, we've got plenty of webinars available through UF. UF actually has a YouTube channel, and it's through IFAS, so you can find gardening information on the YouTube channel. Okay. There's always stuff being posted because that takes content from people and extension agents across the state.
Okay. All right, great questions, everyone, and great presentation as well, Nicole. We really appreciate your time. We do have another session coming up in December. I believe it's December 6th, but you can go to our calendar here. Let me go ahead and bring up our last slide here, and it has the link to our calendar of events there. If you want to contact the library, you can call us at 813-273-3652 or go online at hcplc.org/contact. Also, like I mentioned, we have our calendar of events there, hcplc.org/events. And you can also submit your library story, among other things. So yeah, look for that. I believe that one's going to be about cooking with herbs. So we look forward to that. And this was a wonderful session, Nicole. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone who joined us. And again, that handout is available in the handout section. We'll also, once we post this to our YouTube channel, we're going to have a link to the slides there as well, in case you missed it tonight, okay? All right, thanks again, Nicole. And thank you everyone for joining us. Yes, absolutely, it's wonderful. Have a great night, everyone, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.